What does the Bible mean when it says wives should submit to their husbands? If we use the internal evidence of the Bible and do a little bit of text proofing, we immediately see what the Bible intended for wives. The Bible says, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. Ephesians 5 verse 22. This means the only way wives can submit themselves to their husbands is in the experience of submission to God. In other words, a wife who is not in a relationship with God will find it hard to submit herself to her husband. Little wonder why marriage is the way it is in the society today. Another word for submit here is reverence or respect. This is found in a later verse. Quote, nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. Ephesians 5 verse 33. The word translated as reverence, according to the Strong's Bible Concordance, is originally from the Greek word phobeo, which means to frighten, that is, passively, to be alarmed, by analogy, to be in awe of, that is, revere, be so afraid, fear, exceedingly reverence. Interestingly, it could also mean to fear, that is, hesitate, to do something for fear of harm, or to reverence, venerate, to treat with deference or reverential obedience. The fear, of course, has nothing to do with wives seeing their husbands and running for their dear lives. That would be a dysfunctional marriage already. On the contrary, it has to do with a godly fear of their husbands because of the patriarchal authority invested in him by God, and that's why it is important for the wife to have a relationship with God in the first place. However, submission and reverence is not only the woman's act. Some have gone as far to think the husband ought only to love his wife and the wife ought only to reverence her husband. That is, the wife does not need to love her husband and the husband does not need to reverence the wife. First, the Bible does not agree with this, stating in the same passage that we should submit ourselves, quote, one to another in the fear of God. Ephesians 5 verse 21. So long both the husband and the wife are God's children and a part of his church, they must submit to one another. The Greek word for submit, or potasso, means to subordinate, to be obedient, to submit one's control, and to yield to one's admonition or advice. You see, God is very practical. And although this is not always the case in marriage relationships, God's ways have been proven effective. I think God is intentional in highlighting the need for husbands to love their wives and wives to reverence or submit to their husbands. This may be because the greatest reverence or submission a husband can give his wife is to love her. And the greatest love a wife can show her husband is to show him reverence and submission. In a healthy relationship, love is a two-way street. So is submission. Most importantly, this cannot be forced or manipulated. Wives must remember they cannot use submission or the lack thereof as a tool to force their husbands to love them, because love, true love, is a gift of God. They should rather pray for their husbands to love them as Christ loves the church and gave himself for her. A wife that wins her husband's love in a healthy fashion by her conduct is fulfilling her sacred obligation while helping her husband fulfill his too. No wonder Christ loves to dwell in such homes.